Okay, everybody, it's time for the long-awaited return of invisible teching. I know. You have no idea where I am right now. It's cool though. I'm not doing anything provocative or anything to you guys right now, so it's cool. You gotta be careful though, guys. You gotta be aware of your surroundings because if you don't know what's gonna happen, all of a sudden I could sneak up and I could shing! Ha Floating sword! It's magic! Alright, let's just, hold on a second here. Okay. Yeah, now I just probably look like a floating head, obviously. Let's talk about the clear fruit. That should be a fun time. And how it's not the diamond fruit. I'll explain in a second. Okay, so hey everybody, Teching here, and welcome to my slightly belated video on the Suke no Mi, the clear fruit. So yeah, last month when I was doing all those videos for October, I was going to do a video for each one of the Mysterious Four's devil fruits, which are actually only 3 devil fruits because Hogback didn't have one, although who knows, maybe he has one now, falsa! But no, we had Moria's Kage no Mi, we had Perona's Horo, and I planned on doing the clear fruit. I'm like, yeah, I'll throw that in there somewhere, but then Horoween happened and it just kind of fell by the wayside. But it all worked out at the end of the day, because in the most recent chapter of One Piece, chapter 925, it was revealed that Absalom, the previous wielder of the Suke no Mi, is now unfortunately no longer with us. But don't be alarmed, I know Absalom was an extremely popular character. I know he had at least 3 million fans. If you were going to rank, it's been a while since we did a popularity poll. I think it was like last year sometime we did one, or maybe early this year. But if we did another one right now, man, Absalom would easily rank in the top 5, maybe even top 3. There we go, top 3. But no, not a lot of people really cared about Absalom, but a lot of people cared about his fruit. We saw all the stuff he could do with it, just utilizing the invisibility fruit in order to make himself invisible, made the guns he attached to his arms invisible, so he had a really cool move called Hands of the Dead. So he could just like reach, like it's like some Darth Vader shit, where he could just reach out his arm and just clench, and then like somebody in front of him would just explode, and it's like, oh, he has the powers of the cemetery at his disposal. He can channel Hades. It's like, no, it's just a bazooka he has strapped to his arm and the trigger, and it's hidden. So that's what the power of the clear fruit is. Pretty basic ability. You can turn invisible, as well as anything that you are currently wearing or holding or in any kind of direct contact with. Now, this was something that Sanji was particularly pedoed for, because he wanted the powers of the clear fruit for himself. Because as we all know, Sanji is a very charitable young cook, and he was going to use that power in order to help all of the people of all the world. Perhaps he could make food for the homeless while invisible, because he's really shy and he's very humble. He doesn't want people to know it was him, but he was just going to deliver them food. Now, of course, he wanted it to look into women's bath, which, the sad thing here is that the One Piece world doesn't have internet. I think, Spank Bang or Pornhub could pretty much set Sanji straight right there. I'm like, all right, I don't even need the clear fruit now. Internet pornography. But no, that's what he was going to use it for. And that's pretty much what Absalom used it for as well. Remember the little scene with Nami there? Yeah, that was... I don't think I'm ever going to make a discussion video about that. That was some pretty messed up shit right there, what Absalom did to Nami. And even the scene where he was on the Sunny and just kind of licked Robin. Yeah, Absalom was... Yeah, he's gone now. He might come back as a zombie, but I think a lot of people are like, yeah, nothing of value was lost there. So, who got the powers of the Suke no Mi in Blackbeard's crew? Can't be Shiryu, right? Because we all knew Shiryu was going to get the diamond fruit. No, yeah, so Shiryu ended up getting it, and I thought it made perfect sense for him. Really, I did. There was a theory for a long time that what was going to happen is, what already happened, the theory went, that during the Payback War, when the Whitebeard pirates got together to try to avenge Pops and Ace, they attacked the Blackbeard crew. We don't know what happened to a lot of them yet. We know where Marco's at, so he survived it, but we don't know where a lot of the division commanders are. We don't know what happened to Jozu and Vista, where they're at in the world right now. So the theory went that maybe Jozu was killed during the Payback War, and then the Blackbeard pirates managed to get their hands on the diamond fruit. I don't believe believe we know the name of Jozu's fruit yet. It's just a diamond paramecia. So the idea was Shiryu was going to eat that fruit, become a diamond swordsman, and then that would just heighten up to like new degrees of why Zoro needed to eventually defeat Shiryu, because they had that line of dialogue back in Alabasta after Zoro took out Mr. One, Daz Bones. He's like, "Sing, Lion Song." And then right before, it was like the really cool moment that happens in every samurai movie and an anime, you know, the opponent doesn't actually get hurt until the sword clack. You guys know the sword clack? This is the sword clack. That's the sword clack. Up until then, it's like, yeah, I could slice you from 18 different angles over 800 times, but you're not gonna start bleeding until, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Actually, I'm gonna go get some tea. Hold on. That's good tea. Maybe I'll watch a movie. Oh, Pulp Fiction's on. That's a good flick. 2 hours later. All right, I think we'll... that just, it exploded, just a fountain of blood. So, right before Mr. One passed out, he had like a line where he's like, "You can even cut steel now. What's next? Diamond?" And then Zoro was just like, "Nah, that's stupid." And I guess Oda took that to heart. He's like, "A cutting diamond? Nah, that's stupid. Whatever, I'm not doing that." So, yeah, Shiryu, a lot of people are disappointed he did not end up getting the diamond fruit. Now, that doesn't mean that part of that theory could still be, you know, true, where the Blackbeard pirates might have taken out Jozu. They might have gotten his fruit, and they might either have it on standby or they gave it to somebody else. I didn't really see the whole Katarina Devon having a mythical nine-tailed fox zone. I don't think anybody could have saw that coming, so who knows? Maybe Lafitte has it. Maybe Vasco Shot has the diamond fruit. I don't know. Actually, I have seen some modifications on the theory now ever since that. I've seen like, oh, well, maybe whoever Sanji's going to fight in the Blackbeard crew, like let's say Sanji's gonna fight Vasco Shot, maybe he'll get the diamond fruit, so when Sanji fights him, he's like, he's one up Zoro. He's like, "Oh, Zoro, you could slice steel. Well, I'm gonna take on this guy that can become diamond, and I'm gonna kick him so hard at, you know, at such high temperatures, he's gonna be, I don't know, destroyed or whatever in one kick." You know, that'll be the general idea. That's the theory I've seen popping up here. But when you actually think about it, the clear fruit in Shiryu's hands, it's perfect because he's a dirty swordsman. I mean, not dirty. I mean, he seems like he cleans himself, you know, personal hygiene and all that stuff. But he's like the exact opposite in Zoro, because Zoro is an extremely honorable guy when it comes to the sword, you know, Bushido and honor and all that crap. He's like, "Scars on the back are a swordsman's shame." You know, that's what he does, right? And so Zoro would never be the kind of guy to stab somebody in the back or attack them when their guard is down, or like, even during the most recent arc in Wano, when all the sumo wrestlers were charging at Kiku trying to grab her, and they're like all these giant dudes, and Luffy's like, "Why didn't you stop them?" And Zoro's just like, "I don't know, Luffy. Slicing up a bunch of naked dudes, it just doesn't really fit my it doesn't feel right, you know? They don't have any armor, they don't have any weapons, you know? So that's how the guy is, you know? That's how Zoro fights. But Shiryu, exact opposite. Shiryu is the kind of guy that'll sneak up behind you in the night when you're asleep and then, you know, just cut you down. He don't care. He really don't care. He's probably considering, you know, how sadistic he was when he was the head jailer at Impale Down. He probably is also a fan of torture. You know, maybe it depends on what mood he's in. Maybe he'll just end it quick, or he's like, "No, I'm gonna torture you a little bit with my blade, Ryu." And then he'll finally, like, end your suffering after, you know, hours of just agony. So, yeah, having that ability makes perfect sense. I'm sure he spotted that, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I want that one for me." You know, you also got to be careful, though, because you can only eat one fruit at a time. Blackbeard is, of course, the exception, but I'm going to assume that his other crew members are normal. They can't eat, well, as normal as you can be, but you can't eat more than one fruit. So, even if you're going out there in the world fruit hunting, you got to make sure that whichever one you pick is the one you want. All right, maybe Shiryu, maybe let's say they did take out Jozu, and he did have the opportunity, and he's like, "All right, we have Jozu's diamond fruit. Do you want it, Shiryu?" You know, I was like, no, I'm going to hold off on that for a while. Maybe if I find something better worth my taste. I'm really a fan of this clear ability, the ability to go invisible, yeah. And the cool thing about this, and the reason I'm glad Oda's bringing this back is, like I said, Absalom didn't really utilize the fruit to its fullest extent, possibly. He certainly didn't get to the point where he could be awakening it. Absalom was pretty much the same as Sanji in that case. He was using the fruit to more just fulfill his lustful desires, like, ooh, I'm gonna use it to creep up on women and lick them and do other stuff to them in the shower, or I'm gonna just, you know, oh, I'm gonna strap a gun to my arm and just make that invisible. That's a very basic thing. Absalom, at the end of the day, I mean, he could have really trained with this to the point where he could have been like a ninja, you know, where he could have used his ability to make himself invisible, but also being invisible just physically, that doesn't, like, okay, let me put it this way. Let's say you're in a room by yourself, and then somebody walks in that's invisible. Even without knowing they're there, or even without, you know, having any special abilities or clairvoyance or anything, even if it's just this our world and they're invisible, you still got a pretty good chance that you'll probably be able to figure out there's somebody in the room, you know, because they're walking around, you could hear their footsteps. If they bump into something, you could see that. If they're breathing, you know, you can maybe see something affected by their breath. If you're in somewhere that's like dirty, if you're outside and some dust whips up and the dust is going to get caught to you, you know, you could sneeze while you're invisible. They could still hear you. They could still smell you if you have some BO or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's, even if you're physically just, you can't be seen, you still got other senses. Alright, so that is maybe where the true power of the clear fruit lies. Possibly, for one thing, let's say if you go through the proper training, like a ninja, you know, to conceal their presence as much as possible, that in conjunction with the clear fruit would allow you to truly erase your presence. I'm sure some samurai and some ninja on Wano, like Raizo, if Raizo had the clear fruit, that would be an incredibly powerful ability. And then you have what the awakening would be of that, which is, I would assume, we already know that anything you touch can turn invisible with the clear fruit. Anything that's physical contact with you. But if you're an awakened clear fruit user, I would imagine you could just touch the ground or anything, and like the entire area around you would go invisible. By which, imagine this for a second. Imagine you're in a forest and there's trees all around you, and you have the awakened clear fruit. You activate its power. All of a sudden, it seems like you're standing in a giant hole. Let's say just a giant like sphere. All around you goes invisible. So the ground becomes invisible. So you can look down and you can see, like, you know, just the dirt that's like 20 feet down under the earth. You're still standing on surface level. It's just you're looking down, and that's disorienting because there's no ground, and all the trees disappear. So you might be bumping into trees. You don't know what's going on. So if you were in a building or something, that would be really devastating. If you were in some kind of building that had a certain layout, like floor pan, and like traps laid out everywhere, maybe like spike traps or closing walls or giant boulders crushing you, and, you know, the user wasn't awakened and just made that whole thing invisible, you would walk up to them like thinking you were outside or something, like, bring it on, and then all of a sudden you just get crushed or, you know, sliced from 8 different angles because you didn't see all the traps hidden there. So yeah, that would probably be what the awakened user could be. It's at this point that I want to make a reference to Togashi's work, Hunter x Hunter, which has one of my favorite users of an invisibility power, and that is, in fact, Melioron. For those of you that have not watched Hunter x Hunter, Melioron is a chameleon who is also an ant that used to be a human. Read Hunter x Hunter. It explains everything, and it's really good. But no, Melioron, as you can figure, because he's a chameleon, not just any chameleon, though, he was a chameleon that was raised on the streets, not actually too far off from his actual character backstory, but no, he's a chameleon, so you'd figure he can turn invisible, right? And yeah, so first time we see him, yeah, I could just turn invisible, but that's all he could do. You know, people could still hear him and smell him and things if they got close to him. He's a chain smoker, so if you're just out of nowhere, you're sitting around and just a cigarette starts floating and lights up, he'd be like, hi, Melioron, how you doing? If you've ever been around a smoker, you know their clothes, that the smoke can get into their clothes, and you can kind of smell them, you know, around there. So, you know, people didn't really think much of Melioron's abilities at first, because it's like, okay, he could turn invisible, but it's more of a parlor trick than anything. However, that's not his true ability. That's like just a natural thing he has as a chimera ant. But when he awakens Nen, which is the Hunter x Hunter version of like aura, you know, Reiatsu, you know, chakra, that kind of shit. It's the thing they use to make their special abilities. When he awakens his Nen and his aura, he's able to activate his true ability, which is Perfect Plan. And when he activates that, he goes completely invisible. So as long as he holds his breath while the ability is triggered, you can't see him, you can't sense him, you can't hear him, you can't smell him, you can't do anything. Okay? Now, he's still physically there. He's not, like, intangible. He can't, like, slip through walls. You can still bump into him, but that's the only way you're ever going to find out his location, if it's by just touch. Any other senses, including, like, your sixth sense to, like, I sense the life force in this area. No, he's completely, you know, immune from that. He can slip through all of that. But, yeah, and then he has another ability called God's Accomplice, which is the same thing as Perfect Plan, except he's touching someone else, and so he can activate the ability for both of them. So yeah, you know, that just shows you all the different levels of invisibility that you can really have, you know, not just physically, oh, I can't see you, but also invisible in the sense of hearing, or smell, or touch, or something like that. Also, I'm a big fan of Jackie Chan Adventures, so the Snake Talisman, yeah. You might be wondering, where did I have this the whole time? Oh, I was holding it the entire video, you just couldn't see it, because invisible. But yeah, so I could totally see this now. In fact, let me go on a little bit of a tangent here, which I very rarely ever do in these videos, but I was thinking about what could happen involving Mihawk. All right, because we now have Mihawk apparently getting into the swing of things. He's going to leave his island, what it seems, and because the warlord system is going to be abolished soon, he's going to leave his island and go out into the thick of it, you know. I've been throwing out an idea, maybe if Shiryu manages to kill Mihawk. Because if you look at it from a way of, like, Zoro trained under Mihawk to be the greatest swordsman to eventually defeat him, what happens if Mihawk gets slain before then? And Shiryu would be the only other really big contender right now I could see that does that. I mean, Shanks is a strong swordsman as well, but Shanks has no desire to kill Mihawk. That's what I mean. Someone that's a strong enough swordsman that also might have the ability to do it. I could see that in Shiryu. I could see him maybe training with his fruit, maybe awakening it, or getting to the level where even using observation hockey, because that's another big one. If you know observation hockey, you would be able to detect Absalom coming a mile away. Maybe if he trained with it, maybe he could figure out some way to erase his presence or something so he's undetectable with observation, or maybe some new level of his fruit. Yeah, true, okay, maybe we'll make that work, but Absalom didn't do that. So Shiryu, though, might. So we might get to the point where he's immune from observation detection and you can't see him or hear him or anything like that. And if that's the situation, even someone with Mihawk senses, and that would be something really, you know, just for Mihawk, because he's known as, like, Hawkeye. You know, he has a really sharp sense and eyesight and everything. So, you know, if he's fighting Shiryu and he goes invisible and Shiryu ends up, you know, stabbing him like that from the behind, and Mihawk doesn't even, like, oh, what just happened? And the idea is, if Mihawk is killed by Shiryu, then Zoro will have to defeat Shiryu, not just to become the new greatest swordsman in the world, because Shiryu takes the title from Mihawk, but also to avenge his master. You know, now, I thought of this theory, but at the same time, well, I probably didn't think of it. I'm sure there's other people that thought of it too, but I remember thinking of this theory, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, then we're not going to have that final epic battle with Zoro and Mihawk, which is what I'm sure a lot of people were hoping for. So, I don't know. I don't know how you want to look at this, but we know Zoro's got to have to fight Shiryu at some point, considering he's like the anti-swordsman to the Straw Hats, right? In the Blackbeard crew. But does Zoro absolutely 100% have to fight Mihawk? Well, I mean, it was set up for a really long time. Then again, he trained with him for so long, a lot of people felt like that kind of diminished it, you know, like, oh, he's trying to train to defeat Mihawk, and yet he sparred with him, and we don't know what the whole training was like. In the anime, they had him fighting the human drills for a little while. Maybe Mihawk and him did have a sparring match at some point. That's how else would he have gotten the scar unless it was self-inflicted? So some people feel like that's kind of weakened, you know, the impact of it, because they already kind of had a fight, but they were not real fights. But it's just, you know, the final battle should be just reserved for the, you know, for those two. You know, but I don't know. I don't know how that goes there. But yeah, the clear fruit though, in the hands of a novice like Absalom, it might be a good parlor trick, and you'll be able to spy on the women's bath and all that stuff, and it gets hot and kinky up in here. But in the hands of a true master, someone that has, you know, trained in observation and, you know, erasing their presence and all that stuff, and stealth, and somebody that doesn't really care too much about stabbing somebody from behind, that would be certainly Shiryu's territory, that he might be able to reach the next levels of that. So let me know what you guys think about the clear fruit below, and how do you think Shiryu is going to handle this. Next video, I'm going to be talking about Katarina Devon and her mythical zone, which that's going to require some research, so that'll be a lot of fun. So hold tight for that. Hey everybody, have a good one, and Teching 101, So everybody have a good night, and Teching 101 signing out. Oh, hold on, just let me. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Who?